All right, here we are live Monday, Novak News, 8 p.m. here with Bidan and Harry,
Let's
the
do
man
it.
himself. So we're talking about affordability, Sydney property prices, the property price versus
Wage
wages.
growth. Let's
Definitely.
do it.
Stay tuned, and we will be with you very shortly. All right, here we are, Harry. Monday night. Excited?
Monday night. I am always. Let's do it.
How is the day? Busy day on Mondays?
Always busy on Mondays. Mondays is just one of those days where you've got all the work coming in over the weekend, and then you've just got to get it done.
Definitely, lots
And
of
then we gotta
emails to
wait.
get back to, lots of
That's it.
follow-ups.
And then
12
we gotta-
hours still, we have a lot of stuff to do.
That's
8
it.
to 8 on a Monday, still a lot happening. But let's talk about the property market versus wages. Like I think
Yeah.
everyone has felt that a lot in the last few years.
Yeah.
Like the affordability is not kind of having like a easy piece of cake.
Yeah. That's it.
Like people are struggling with their salary that they're getting there being bare minimum in terms of getting those groceries, eating out, going
Yeah.
out, or
Cost of living's
cost of
shot
living
up there.
next level. Like simple as I think the fuel.
That's it. Yeah. Like, and you look at the
Yeah.
cost of living, over the last decade, which is sort of lied between 2 to 3%.
Yes.
And then you see like the cost of living, in particular,
Mhm.
like the housing market, which is just shot up. And then it's just left a lot of people, like they're trying to make a decision as to, like they can't really, they're limited with the decision to go out and buy a property, essentially.
Exactly. Very true on that. But as simple as the reason I got the fuel is if the fuel prices go up, like everything has to be transported, every essential needs has to be transported. Like as simple as the food, the produce, that
Everything
goes to the
follows.
restaurants,
Everything follows with it. That's
so
it.
your salary is increasing by this bit, and every single item that we use on a daily basis, like we call it fast moving consumer goods, that we need to survive,
Correct.
that is increasing by the same amount. So if your salary is, let's say, increasing by 4% per year, we wish, and every single item, all the expenses are increasing by 4% as well. So that kind of accumulates quite higher than your 4% salary. And as simple as the cost of living is there to maintain your basic needs, the property prices are going much higher as well.
Yeah.
So
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Like back in the days, 1996, 1990s basically.
Yeah.
Your average property price was 76,000 to 80,000.
And now you look at today's market and you're going, what the hell's going on?
That you need for a 5% deposit.
Yeah.
So back then, so at the same time, your average annual income would be roughly around 40 grand.
Yeah. And then and another interesting thing which I actually did my research on is the average family in Sydney, or actually in Australia, has to save about a decade worth of savings just to afford a 20% deposit for the average property price, which is actually, in a way, it's actually quite sad if you think about it, because again, it's falling back on that whole idea of most people, the majority of the population is actually quite limited to actually being able to afford and purchase their first property, which is why most people most people rent, because they simply just don't have that option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because with the cost of living, you're so much into doing connecting the dots between getting the salary, paying your expenses. There's no way of saving that extra money for that deposit.
It's
for
very
that big
difficult.
House, right?
It's very difficult.
So comparing 25 years ago, let's say 1998, so 80 grand you could buy a house. Your salary is, let's say, 40 grand. So let's say you are a couple. One's income is going all towards expenses, next income is saving completely. In 2 years, you have a fully paid house.
Yeah.
Right. And happens 2000, the recession kicks in, and now the property prices goes to 360 grand for one house.
Yeah.
Right. But the salary has increased the same. Since then, every recession, every year, the gap keeps on going up.
Yeah.
So now the property prices are here compared from 1990 going all the way up to 2025. The salaries are kind of like this. So that gap is being quite high.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And it's interesting with what happens, on an economic level, with like the recent when the fiscal policy, if there's any changes that are made on the budget, and just literally just trying to see what we want to do, if we want to allocate more money towards wages in the future and sort of start pushing those wages up so that it's more easier and it's more affordable for the average person in Australia to actually afford a property, and for that wage growth to start catching up to that housing market.
Exactly.
So it's a lot easier for everyone.
And also, government have done few incentives as well for buying a property. Now, most of you can buy with that little 5% deposit.
Yeah.
So
That's a recent.
that's a big thing, right?
Yeah, that's a recent government one.
Previously, it would be like 20%.
Yeah.
So now they have like first-home buyer schemes, house and land packages. If you buy outside Sydney, you have more incentives and benefits. So there are a few things. So it's like there is a problem and there is kind of a solution as well.
Yeah.
So it's up to you if you want to grab onto that, if you want the Australian dream or the American dream of having that property.
And just to add to that, it's interesting to see if the governments are willing to continue incentivizing young home buyers to purchase their first property, because we do have those schemes that are starting to come into play. But it's interesting to see if the government's willing to continue and adding those schemes and incentivizing more in particular young Australians. You see these schemes implementing more into young Australians because they want to help the younger population of Australia purchase their first home.
Exactly. Well, not only that, now last year they recently, not even last year, probably this year, they bought the rule. Previously, to be a first home buyer, like as the word says, you have to be a first home, it has to be a first property. But now they changed the rules. If you haven't bought a property, like bought or sold a property in the last 10 years, you qualify as a first home buyer as well.
Wow, okay.
That's a very interesting incentive that the government has done. Like if myself, I bought a property long ago and I have been paying mortgage, getting that repayments done, and I've been there. And now thinking of investment, I can wait for that 10 years.
Yeah.
Because there's stamp duty. That's money just never comes back.
Yeah.
So if you want to save on that, it's a
essentially.
tax at the end of the day. So that's good incentives as well. So as the inflations are going up, and the daily living costs are going up, the government are doing few things as well on the background. Might not feel much, like people will always comment on whatever. If they do something, they'll comment on it. If they don't do anything, they'll still comment on it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of part of life. But yeah, I think with all these incentives, it does help to buy and sell. We at this probably spring, the busiest time for real estate to buy and sell. We see a lot of stock out there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you're in the rental. How are you seeing stock in terms of rental? Has it grown?
Stocks. I would say stocks kind of plateauing at the moment, and I would say that it's kind of the same with the rent. At the same time, we're kind of starting to see that plateau. Not seeing too much movement. I think, with the new year coming, with the market, it had its good run obviously this year, last year, the year before. But yeah, we should start to see the market, the rental market in particular, cool off. So
yeah, that'll be, I think, a big relief to lots of renters out there, because people who can't buy, they're renting.
That's it.
And if the price keeps on going up, like there was some point that your mortgage and your rent are like that was not far off.
Yeah.
So there were a few scenarios that were there as well, and lots of people bought as well, and that probably made good capital growth by now. So those are a few things there, and it's good news that the renting has been plateauing. The rental amount has been there, and with sales, for now, we had a look other day at 975 properties in Northern Beaches.
Wow. Okay.
That's a lot. So
a fair bit of stock there.
Yeah. So there's rule number 101 for sales: more stock, like supply versus demand.
Correct.
The supply is more and the demand is more, the price will plateau, right? So that's something that you always have. That's the formula that works anyway. So 975 properties in Northern Beaches. We normally sit average around 500 to 600. So that's quite a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are lots of buyers as well. Like every open
Lots
home,
of
we are
prospective
busy.
buyers.
Yeah. It's busy. They're out there on the market ready to buy. And things are moving quick. things are moving quick. So in terms of affordability, I think if is at this day and stage, if you plan things right, you should be pretty okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that summarizes everything up here.
Yeah,
This is an interesting topic to talk
Yep,
about.
definitely.
I think it's a very underrated topic.
Yeah.
It doesn't get talked about enough
Mhm.
with wages, and it's such a big thing. Like, it happens every single day. People, stressing about their wages, their ability to afford things. I do think it's a big issue, and it had to be addressed.
Exactly. And it was simple as buying bread. I
It is.
noticed before COVID, like buying bread for $2, $3. Now it's minimum $5.
It's the small
Yeah.
things, and then that scales
Mhm.
up to the housing
Yes.
market, and then
It accumulates, and
It does.
I see lots of news and lots of cases, people trying to sue the big companies, the grocery companies. You know who they are. They're doubling the prices,
Yeah.
and they're doing it because they can. And if someone questions them, they have people in the background trying, sweeping things under the carpet.
Yeah.
So things do happen, and the reason I brought bread is because I have to buy 2 or 3 loaf of bread every Saturday because we do barbecue in Francis Forest, and I can feel that I'm like $5 for a
Saturday
loaf of bread.
sausages.
Yeah, and it's like I remember buying it for $2 to $3 before COVID,
That's
and I
it.
think after COVID, everyone has taken that hit of everything. Every price is going up, like fuel in particular.
Yeah.
Went up to $2.50 at some point.
For 98.
Yeah, and now it's flexible. Like every week,
Yeah, about $1.80 now.
yeah, $1.80 now, and that feels cheaper.
Yeah.
And now that's human psychology. Like you're seeing that expensive price so much, the thing that was expensive previously starts to feel cheaper.
That's it.
Now $1.80, everyone will like lining up, fueling up the tank, because they know it's going to go up. So this is something that's been going on for years. Like prices always go up, and the salaries kind of don't go up. Like which I don't think why that happens. Like everything's going up, the salary should go up as well.
It really does fall back on the government and the policies that they introduce, particular fiscal policy, because fiscal policy is all to do with the budget, the Australian budget, the way the government uses all your tax money, and the way where they allocate those funds, whether it's into infrastructure or towards wages. It all does the budget does play a big impact with that.
Yeah, definitely. And the governments always do something about it. Like I think they recently had this year they're changing the tax bracket as well, which will help a lot of people get that extra money.
Yeah.
It'll increase the borrowing capacity as well. So there are things there. Like you just have to be clever and figure out how you can use that to your advantage. Like the governments are changing rules every year.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be on top of it. The more you ignore it, the more you go with the flow. It might not quite work out.
Yeah.
All right, I think that is all.
That's
We just had to have the chat because, as Harry mentioned, doesn't get talked more often. And at the end of the day, we are not economists as well.
Yeah.
We're just here to talk what has been happening and how does this all affect real estate and everything. At the end of the day, things are always moving, markets are always moving. Always a good time to buy, always a good time to sell.
That's it.
What do you think?
Couldn't agree more, my friend.
All right, over and out from our end. Everyone have a good night and see you
Good night.
next Monday.
See you later.
Cheers.